to skip ahead a page. We're going to look at the sum and difference of cubes. We'll do that later. For right now, I want to look at the easy diamond problem. Okay, so with this problem, the way that you know you have the easy diamond, and again, your teacher last year might have not even called it this. It's not a thing. It's just something I picked up years ago. And an easy diamond problem, if this number right here is a 1, you don't have to do that whole factor by grouping big long problem. Okay, so what you do is you can make a little diamond, and you're looking for two numbers that multiply to the C term right here. Okay, so they multiply to C, and they add up to the B term. Okay, so multiply to C, add to B. Okay, and you want to keep in mind like the sign of B and C. Okay, so if I was going to do this problem, I want two numbers that are going to multiply to 10, and it's going to add to 7. So I put in that they're both positive. Okay, so what two numbers will multiply to 10 and add to 7? Hopefully you got 5 and 2. Now, doesn't matter. You could have written 2 and 5. Okay, so this right here is not factoring. You have to write x plus 5 times x plus 2. Now, we can check our solution, but that is factored. I can't go any further because there's no equal sign. Okay, so let's check. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 2 is 10. Yep, x squared plus 7x plus 10. We know we did it right. Okay, here, I just wrote the same problem twice. That didn't help. Okay, let's change this one. Let's make it like, let me think of something that's going to work. How about x squared minus 3x minus 28. Okay, so now I'm going to go, all right, I want two terms that multiply to negative 28 and add to negative 3. Now, let's say you didn't know. Let's say you're like, I don't know, my head just went blank. You know, just start listing the factors of 28. Okay, so there's 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 3 won't go in there. There it is, 4 and 7. Okay, so the 7 has to be negative because we need that negative 3. Okay, so a negative 7 and a positive 4. So x minus 7, x plus 4. And that's it. We can't solve because there's no equal sign. And again, I can double check. X times x is x squared plus 4x minus 7x, that's minus 3x, minus 28. So I know that I did it right. Okay, so before we go into this factor using the AC method, I want to look at how we do factor by grouping if we have 4 terms. And the reason I want to look at that is because factor by grouping, we use that method when we do the AC method. Okay, so what you do here is whenever you see 4 terms, okay, you're going to see if you can group it. So I'm going to group, let me see if I have a different color pen so you can see it better. I'm going to group the first 2, and I'm going to group the second 2. All right, so let's see. I find the greatest common factor in here, which is an x and a y. Okay, so I'm going to factor that out. Okay, xy times y will give me xy squared. Xy times 5 will give me 5xy. Okay, then I have to bring down this plus sign. And this is important that you do this correctly. A lot of students leave that out, and it makes your work incorrect. Okay, so don't leave that out. Okay, between here, they both have a 2. So 2 times y is 2y. 2 times 5 will give me 10. So you want to make sure that this, if we simplified this, we'd get that back again. If you don't put that plus sign in there, you're indicating that you're multiplying all of these together. So you got to have the plus sign. Okay, so now we have to factor out the greatest common factor. And here's where a lot of students get mixed up because they're not sure what to do with these y plus 5s because they look kind of weird. So I want you to think, so don't write this down, but just think about if this said xy z plus 2z. Oops, that looks like a z right there. Wouldn't you say, oh, I would just factor out the z. I would put the z right in front, and I would be left with xy plus 2, right? Well, it's the same thing. They both have these in common. They both have a y plus 5. So I'm going to take that y plus 5 and I'm going to factor it out. Just like I factored out that z. And then I'm left with xy plus 2. And it's factored. Okay. Let's look at this guy over here. So this one I got to be careful because there's a minus in the middle. And I know students have been taught a lot of different ways to deal with this, that sometimes they'll put a plus and then a minus, all sorts of weird things. So notice what, I shouldn't say weird, they're helpful. Notice that when I put parentheses in, I've completely changed this problem. If I simplified as it is, I would not get the original problem back again because I would get a negative times a negative. So what I have to do is I've got to switch that to a positive because that way, if I distributed that, I would get the right thing back again. Okay, so now let's look. Greatest common factor is an A, and I'm left with D plus 3. I'm going to bring down my minus sign. Take out a D. And there's a D plus 3. So remember, this is kind of weird because remember how I put that plus up there? But if I multiplied this back through, see how I would get minus D squared minus 3D, which is what I wanted. Okay? All right, now, just like before, they both have a D plus 3. So I'm going to factor, that would be like us saying, let's say AZ minus DZ. And that we said, well, let's factor out the z. Okay, same idea, except it's not a z, it's a d plus 3. So I'm going to factor out the d plus 3. I have to keep it in parentheses because it's a binomial. And I'm left with the a minus d. Okay, and that is factor by grouping.